It is a Friday afternoon, and we are waiting for our friend from the soccer bar and from Pulso Sports, Niko Moreno, to come in for Thursdays with Niko on a Friday. And traditionally, it's a Friday, and we're getting ready for the holiday coming up. And so, sometimes there's nothing to talk about, like really bad bowl games where people are subjecting themselves to mainlining mayonnaise. But today, that's not necessarily the case.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah. So, when Eli Drake wanders in, and he's dropping things that you want to hear.
Let me talk to you.
So there's plenty to talk about, and we've got Jarrett. We got a guy that we've talked about a lot. And in our production chat, Niko Leafy mentioned that if there was any discussion about the greatest of this era, that done got put to bed because somebody signed a contract that's the worst secret known to mankind. And it's a lot of money, not a surprise. Could be worth a lot more money, not a surprise. And the location has been figured out. CR37 to Al Nassr, base salary $75 million. Makes up about a third of the total package. He can earn closer to $200 million a season with all commercial opportunities and incentives included. They understand he's taken part one of his medical, which allows contracts to be processed and a visa issued. This is from our friend Ben Jacobs at CBS Sports. Second part of the medical will take place in Riyadh. Al Nassr have had the Riyadh part of the medical booked for weeks following a broad verbal agreement. They've also had several rooms in a 7-star hotel. I didn't know those existed. Plan has always been to officially announce Ronaldo after Al Nassr's game at Al Khalij. And so CR37 is on the board with Al Nassr. I know that you're shocked.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he made such a big deal about everything, and he has burned the ground upon which he exists so efficiently at this point.
Yep.
When you try this hard to make people care, guess what they're not going to do?
Care.
Sometimes. I mean, that's pretty much all I've got for you.
I could give two royal rats. This is like.
I mean, good on him for he's getting paid.
Yeah,
good on him for that. Like, you know what? Same philosophy. I don't have to like the athlete to maintain the philosophy of get paid while your body lets you. Maximize your profit, whatever.
Yeah.
Good on you for doing that. But I just don't care about Ronaldo at this point. And it's just kind of weird seeing him just kind of fade into the ether like this and take the last big payday, which it makes sense. I mean, we see this in other sports, not to this degree, of course. I don't think we'll ever see it to this degree.
Yeah, no.
But we do see it in other sports where you're going to see somebody make the money. You're going to see somebody decide, hey, I put on all that work for all those years. It's time for me to cash the hell in.
Yep.
And they do. And you know what? More power to you. I just don't care about Ronaldo and his quest here to kind of wrap things up.
Yeah.
The most damning thing I can say about him is that I don't care, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that you're right on. And I mean, this to me is almost like Tom Brady to the Buccaneers, and especially this year, where you can tell that he stayed at the dance too long and hung around the Hunch Punch Bowl and, thought that, he needed to, make sure that everyone was getting their fair share of the Hunch Punch, and he ended up just getting more of it, and he's just kind of standing right there next to the bowl and going, "Ooh, my glass is empty. I think I need another glass." I have zero interest. I mean, I will admit, when P.T. Martinez went to Al Nassr, I was interested because the interest was vested. And so, of course, then they decide, okay, Al Nassr decides, okay, we're done with PT Martinez. We're going to bring in CR37. And I have zero interest in seeing him on a live game basis. I want to see what his numbers are in this league. I want to see if everybody's going to defer and sit there and go, okay, yeah, you need to get your goals. You need to do this to be happy. Here, I'm going to pass the ball to you so you can score. And I don't, and I, like you, don't give a royal rat about CR37 playing in Saudi Arabia. I just don't. But yeah, the fact that you're getting paid $75 million, knock yourself out. You got paid. More power to you. I don't
get the money. Yeah. Always get paid.
Yeah, you're a minus 500.
ABE, always be earning.
Yes, absolutely.
And then take care of your money because you don't want to end up on the next edition of 30 for 30s broke. Nobody wants to be on that one.
No, and you want to make sure that you're also making sure that your taxes are paid or shielded in the appropriate manner that they're shielded in, to make sure that everything is the way that it is supposed to be. But
I don't know what the Middle Eastern taxman is like.
No,
I don't know if he is better or worse than the Spanish taxman who, as we all know, carried basically. The Spanish taxman, for those of you that don't know, is basically Goldberg during his WCW run.
Yeah.
Like, not only is the Spanish taxman undefeated, the Spanish taxman's hitting squash matches every which way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that is true.
Here's somebody who did a thing who, sometimes I realize it's crazy money how I've taxes. I don't know what the tax situation is over there. I don't know where he's claiming residence. I don't know how all that's going to work.
Correct.
Different than GAAP as far as tax law goes and accounting, but man, this will be interesting. We'll see. Yeah, I am with you though. I will be interested to see what his stats look like. I want to see what the numbers look like. The deferral part, that makes sense. They're going to defer to him because this is the same man who, a couple weeks ago during the World Cup, was lodging the team to lodge a formal complaint that a ball clipped his head on the way into the goal so that he could get credit for a goal.
Dude,
it matters.
Yeah.
Don't ever tell me it doesn't matter to him.
Mm-hmm. Just for reference, right now in the Saudi Professional League, it's a 16-team league. They have gone through either match week 10 or match week 11 or match week 9 if you're Al Ittihad FC. Al Nassr is second in the table, and it is because they have drawn one more match than leaders Al Shabab. It is 25 points to 23. Al Nassr is second in the table. You have to win the league to advance to all of the tournaments there in Middle East and North Africa. You've got to win the league. And Al Nassr's one more draw has been the difference so far with their match ratio with Al Shabab, 25 points to 23. So Al Nassr, after 10 matches, 2 points back of winning the title. And so, let's see, if you're looking 15 times 2 is 30. So you're at the 1/3 point of the season. You got 20 matches to make up 2 points and win a title. So we'll see what's going on there.
We'll see how they use him. We'll see how he handles it because he's not a spring chicken anymore, and you kind of have to build the system around him. He can't just fit into your system anymore. The man's old, his knees are going on him, his body's starting that breakdown, which this is one of my favorite things, by the way, because when we talk about an athlete's body is, oh man, he's starting to break down, he's starting to slip. Yeah, he's still in better shape than any of us have ever dreamt of being in. He's just not in peak physical condition in the history of humanity shape. That's the difference.
Yes.
But when you slip out of that and you're playing against other people who are in that, it can become pretty apparent. I do want to see how he handles it though, how they handle him, how they handle his minutes. Do you shoehorn him in and build things around him? Do you just say, hey, we're going to throw you in when we we're going to just kind of throw you on there in certain situations and just go find it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, Parsifal, that's the point. That's the question. Where is the legal residence? Where is the money being sheltered? Sorry, sheltered, such an ugly word. Where is the money being sent? Where's the direct deposit slip? What's the bank? Does it go to Switzerland? Does it go to the Caymans? Does it go to a home account in Portugal? Does it go to someplace in Saudi Arabia? To that 7-star hotel? Like I said, I didn't know 7-star hotels existed.
Didn't either. I thought it stopped at like 5.
Yeah.
Well, I say that. I knew there was like a 6-star because I heard about that when we were in China once. Because we stayed in what was a quote unquote like a 4-star hotel, and it was like being in the Overlook Inn during the snowed-in season in the second half of the book of The Shining.
Okay.
Like the carpets were weird. Like there was no hot water. So you had hardwired internet, and we asked them we went down to the desk once and we asked them for an Ethernet cable just so we could plug in. Just dumping, we were using a digital camera. I wanted to dump photos off this camera on the computer so I had more room in my card. Mm-hmm. And I had a cloud I had set up to dump things into. And the lady came up, banged on the door, took the cable, and just threw it at my feet and walked away. And I was like, I don't know if I did anything wrong, but if you told me I did, I believe you. They were like, it's the only place we went where they were like, yeah, don't go out after night. Locals are pleasant enough, but yeah, it's a little bit of sundown territory here. So
yeah,
that was fun. That was so much fun.
Yes. All right, so it is that time because the name of the show is Thursdays with Niko, and Thursdays with Niko on a Friday. So we bring the man in from the soccer bar, Pulso Sports, Niko Moreno. Niko, it is Jon and Jarrett for the last TWN on a Friday for the year, my friend.
Hey, what's going on, my guys? Happy to be here. Sorry for the delay, man. I'm on vacation mode, obviously. Still a very small off season for me. Gotta get ramp up, get this shows going again. A couple of weeks tends to be a long time apparently for me. So, but I'm back. Excited to be on with you guys. How's everything been?
All right, it's good to go. Our first topic, while we were waiting for you to come in and talk about it, looks like CR37 has signed a $75 million a year deal to be in Saudi Arabia. So Cristiano Ronaldo getting Major Bank, or maybe that should be just his new nickname. You put that across the back of the jersey, Major Bank, and he's wearing number 7. He's going to go play in Saudi Arabia. Cristiano Ronaldo, what is your thought just on Cristiano Ronaldo, old CR37 in general? What do you think about the man, his abs, and his massage gun?
You know what? It's hard to, well, at least for me, is to judge or look bad upon a 38-year-old athlete who's dedicated his entire life and career to build his body, his empire, his career, create a legacy, achieve what Cristiano Ronaldo's been able to achieve, and not be able to just catch in a WWE type check and then just do his thing, right? I mean, he's going to dominate the league. He's going to be the face of the league. He's going to maybe own half of the country. I don't know, but it's CR7, right? So I think he's earned it. It was, there are options of how you go about beginning that road towards retirement, and this is his way. This is the way he decided to do it. Not the first guy to go to either, the Chinese league that maybe doesn't have a lot of, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, respect across globally. It doesn't have the top league level. Oh, you're leaving. Or some people would think MLS was that at one point, right? Oh, it's a retirement league. But I think it's a good move for him. Once again, at his age, after what he's been able to accomplish, has absolutely nothing to prove, regardless of, any doubters. I'm a Messi guy, and I have no shame about it. But that doesn't mean that I have to hate on a guy like Cristiano, who's been absolutely amazing. So yeah, I think it's a good move for him. I have no problem with it.
Jarrett, go for it.
Yeah, I make no bones about my opinions on him, and in the negative sense, especially the way he left Manchester United, cutting the promo with what's his face over there in England, the stuffy old man. Piers Morgan, whatever his name is. I will never begrudge anyone from going and making an obscene amount of money. It just, Yeah, it seems like it's the unexpected ending for him. Gonna go make your money, go fade into whatever ether you want to fade into, and I guess go do you, Cristiano. But it's whatever to
Yeah,
me at this point. Yeah,
but I'm with
but
you. I'm with you on the
where are
way he
you
left, Manu. He didn't have to do all that.
Robot Jarrett took over. Go for it, Niko.
Oh no, I was saying that I agree with Jared on how he left.
That's what happens. Tell you what, Jarrett.
Yeah,
go for it. All right, now Robot Jarrett hopefully has not taken over. So finish your thought and let me go.
We've killed him. It's fine. Yeah, but I agree with you that let him go make his money. And two, right before you came on, we were talking about pro athletes are just such peak physical human condition, and he's been that for so long. Eventually, he's going to slip, and it's funny because we'll be like, he's not the same guy anymore. Yeah, he's still in better shape and a better physical freak than 99.99% of the people who have ever existed. But we're going to be like, he's washed.
Yeah, he's washed. Right.
Definitely better shape than us. And like I said, he could probably go and play in a mid-table team in the Premier League and the Serie A. It's a league that I follow a lot, and I see a lot of these older players still succeed and be game changers, whether it's being a super sub or a guy that gives you 60 straight minutes. And he could possibly go 90, right? I mean, the way the World Cup presented itself, and the way he was benched or if he did get benched, but it wasn't as if he wasn't able to just perform. It's just that the team played better without him, and as a super sub, he just did different things. And praise to the coach for taking that decision. But that doesn't mean that at a club level he wouldn't be able to still be not just a contributor consistently, but someone who could really be a difference maker in a club. But again, it all goes back to how he decides to do it, and yeah, just good for him.
All right, since you mentioned World Cup, let's talk about World Cup. I know that you and I have been discussing what we wanted to have happen. We got our fairy tale ending in one of the best, and Jarrett has said this, that this is one of the best finals ever, regardless of sport.
It's one of the best. It's the best one-off game I think I've ever seen in any sport. I'm with you. I am very much a Messi guy. But unless you're French, if you are neutral, especially, and of course if you're Argentine, I still think it's the most insane, fun, chaotic, brilliant final we've ever had in any sport for just a one-off event.
Yeah, it's hard to compare like sports for me, but in terms of soccer, absolutely. There's been some trailers that I've seen on Super Bowls. That Tennessee Rams game, right, where he almost gets it to the end zone and it could have changed the game. You go back to the Tom Brady down against Atlanta. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, there's been a lot of
you can't hurt me with that game. It's okay.
A lot of crazy moments that have happened in sports in one game, but I'm with you. I mean, it was that type of final. It was chaotic. It was amazing. It was sloppy. It was beautiful. It was terrible defending, but with amazing attacking skills and beautiful goals. So yeah, it did not lack absolutely anything. It was by far the best soccer final I've ever seen, regardless of tournament, World Cup, whatever you want to call it. It was absolutely unbelievable. But in terms of sports, yeah, it's a good one. It's definitely up there.
All right, now that we've got CR37 out the door and we've gotten Messi his props on this show, let's go into Major League Soccer. And there's a couple of different topics that I wanted to discuss with you. First and foremost is local, having to do with Seattle. Last year it was Albert Rusnak. This year it is Eber. And then there's also the stuff that we're seeing out in lane 8 out here in the outside. We got to keep an eye on with Christian Roldan. Run through the Hebert signing, what you think, and the Christian Roldan negotiations, which you've been kind of a lightning rod on this from what I've seen in social media. Run through Hebert and Roldan for me.
Absolutely. Well, Eber, it's makes all kinds of sense. It is a position that they needed to go out and get a little depth in. Will Bruin no longer with the team. He actually at this moment has no team. I'm interested if he could go back and maybe for a league minimum or something like that, he could maybe stay here. But regardless of, you needed someone else. I like the profile. He's a little bit different than the other strikers that you have here in the team. He's been very inconsistent, and I'm not going to come out in your show and lie to you and tell you that this is a fantastic, amazing, game-changing type of acquisition, but it is a contributing one. It is one that is going to allow you to have a guy that could come in and either substitute Raul Ruiz if necessary. Whenever you play with two strikers, I think that he would fit quite well with Raul in the way they manage their space. He's not as mobile as Raul is, but he is very smart and can connect in that final third in a way that would, I think, complement well with Raul Ruiz. I think he's gotten better, and I would think he's coming off a season in which he probably got a little bit of confidence and showed people that he could potentially do the job he was out to do. A lot of people call him a bust. I don't know if I would call it a bust. I mean, it's not like the Cabral type of bust, but, he definitely hasn't been as productive as a lot of us thought he would be. But Seattle does a great job at what, John? They do a great job at giving guys second opportunities and giving them the tools to succeed within a system. So because of that, I think that at 30 years old, for the GAM and TAM that they were able to just manage and exchange for him, I think is a good quality acquisition. Thinking about Club World Cup, thinking about Leagues Cup, thinking about MLS and everything that's going to happen in 2023. I like it. I think it's interesting. And I think the ceiling is a little bit higher than people think. If you, in some sort of way, resurrect his career the way maybe you did Kellen Rowe in a very different way, and he just comes out and produces consistently for you at a higher level than Freddie did last year or will, then it is just a good move for Seattle. So let's just take your thoughts on that one and move on to Christian Roldan.
All right, so Christian Roldan, there's been discussions, contract, yes, no, extension, maybe, perhaps. Looking good. What's the update there?
So we broke the news yesterday, I believe, or a couple of days ago. CR7 has been, and I've been on your show. I don't need to tell you, if you guys listen to Niko on Thursday, on Fridays, on Saturdays, on Sundays, on Christmas, it doesn't matter what day, and I'm talking about Christian Roldan, I'm going to praise the guy. I'm going to praise the heart, the versatility, the ability to close down on attackers, a guy that's sound both offensively and defensively, someone who's been a pillar for this team since he's been with the team right off the bat. When he was drafted, you could just see that he was a difference maker in this team. He's been with them for a very long time. Now he signs, or is set to sign, what I'm told is a 5-year contract that would secure him through 2027. And I just think that's fantastic. This is a guy that has played center midfield for you, has played out wide, has played right back. I mean, has just absolutely done it all. He's played striker, he's played 10, he's played absolutely everything other than goalie. That man does it all. So not just talking about his versatility, but just his productivity and his ability to stay healthy. I mean, whenever you have a guy that you can count on to be and play 30 plus games in a season, and you can count on that, you could bank on that, then you're doing your job well as a GM or as a scout, because that's what you want to have on your team. So I'm just excited that a guy with that type of IQ, that type of lungs, endurance, and ability to change the game is still going to be with Seattle for the next 5 years. That's a good move. Weibel does it right on this one. There were other offers, is what I'm told. There were offers on the table. There were a couple from outside of MLS, but he wants to be here. That's Christian Roldan. He wants to win. This is his legacy. He wants to not leave the legacy just in a couple of MLS titles, a CCL title, but he wants to go out here and win some more. There's a Leagues Cup, there's a World Club Cup. So I just think that Christian Roldan is someone that, if he really wanted, could go and play in Turkey with, I don't know, whatever club you choose, or he could move on to Eredivisie and play well there. But he wants to finish his legacy here, and we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, it's 5-year contract with Seattle, yes, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be locked down here forever, right? If he plays well, he continues to show what he can provide teams, he could be gone somewhere else. It's just Seattle will get a nice little transfer for him.
Jarrett, go for it.
Yeah, it just seems like he's I know you mentioned it doesn't mean he's going to be here forever, but it feels like it puts him in that position to be a lifer, which is something that's so rare in this sport and in this league, of a guy who is just part of the city and the culture. And I think it's something you always want to have, that guy. You fall in love with a player and you always think, man, what if they just never left? And sometimes you get your wish. And I mean, maybe he is that guy. Maybe he wants to try something else, and maybe he comes back later. God knows, we've seen that before, where guys go on an adventure, and we've seen world class players talk about, like, yeah, I played all over the world. I want to end things where I began. I want to go back home and wrap it up there.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a very good point. That's something that should be praised, and most times it's painted with a brush of somebody being complacent or not being ambitious. And I think that's just a bunch of, I honestly do. I think that if you choose that route and you want to be one of those very few players that just never left, a lot of people, Pelé, rest in peace. That was something that people knocked him on. He never left Sao Paulo. He could have gone. He never played in the big leagues. Like, that's just a bunch of crap, man. Just players take different routes from their career. Christian Roldan could choose to do that, and if he was to do it, it'd be fantastic. I mean, he's won international cups, he's won domestic cups, and to me, he's just one of the best players in the league. So I would be more than okay with that. I just don't want to top his potential or paint him with a brush that a lot of people on social media, they'd be hitting me up like, oh, where is he going to go? He's just a role player. I was like, come on, man. If you don't know soccer, go watch tennis, watch golf, whatever you want to do. But just don't come and tell me that Christian Roldan doesn't have the attributes to be a very good player in many leagues in Europe, or, Liga MX, or whatever you think is okay for him to go. I just think he's choosing this. I think that he knows his value, and his value can grow. Absolutely.
News coming from Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert. Mazatlan, the Kraken, have announced the signing of Ake Luba from Nashville SC.
Speaking of strikers who didn't fill out their profiles.
Yes, only 2 starts.
You're talking about people thinking Abear was you're talking about people thinking Abear washed out? Nah, Ake Luba. Let's talk.
Woo. Yeah,
there's levels.
Opens up a DP spot for Nashville alongside Hani Mukhtar and Walker Zimmerman. What we did a couple days ago, Niko, Jarrett and I looked at the Eastern Conference. And I guess you could call it the way too early preview, where you can write things in pencil. And obviously, we're not even into training camp yet. That, probably starts in the next 8 or 9 days or so for everybody here in Major League Soccer, getting ready for, at least in the Seattle frame of mind, the trip to Morocco that I know that you have booked. I know that you are ready to go to Morocco for the Club World Cup. You are gassed up and ready to go. But what we did in the Eastern Conference was the way too early preview. And what I wanted to do to run through the Western Conference and do the same with you and Jarrett, since you are our man out west. And I wanted to kind of get your in pencil way too early preview of the Western Conference. So last season in Major League Soccer in the West, here were the standings in the Western Conference. Started out with LAFC up top. Austin finished second at 56 points. FC Dallas at 53. LAG at 50. Got the tiebreaker over Nashville, who was fifth. Minnesota's at 48 points. RSL's at 47. That was the group that made the playoffs. The rest of the group, Portland, Vancouver, Colorado, Seattle at 41 points, but you guys also had a lot of other things going on, and you were adding other things to the dossier there in Seattle. Sporting, Houston, and San Jose. You're losing Nashville, but you're adding St. Louis. When you, Niko, look at the Western Conference going into your way too early preview for 2023, are you looking, how much chalk do you see? Do you see somebody coming from below the bar in addition to the Seattle Sounders, who I imagine you have above the bar again in 2023 when they were below the bar in 2022? How right now do you have things laid out in your way too early look at the Western Conference before everybody hits training camp?
In my way too early poll, and, without, giving you a Miss Cleo thought on what I think will happen in the winter window here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Portland's the only team that I foresee above that line with the Seattle Sounders. I think Nashville leaving does open a pretty clear spot. You heard me go in this show last year and say that Nashville moving to the Western Conference was going to do a huge disservice to every single team trying to make the playoffs, and you saw it. And that's with a Nashville team that, as you just said, just threw money into a big garbage bag and lit it on fire with Akiloba. And, they had an aging group, and it was a Mukhtar reliant squad. And still they were able to get to where they were because of the system, because of Gary Smith that doesn't get enough praise, because of the way that the team played in general. So with them gone, I don't see the same from St. Louis in terms of the way they're building their roster. I feel like I usually have a pretty good idea on how a team will do depending on how they approach the structure of their team. And that's even with Austin, that I was pretty high in early, even though they didn't make the playoff in their first year. I thought that the build of the roster was very good. I don't see that with St. Louis. I think that they're going to be one of the bottom of the pile teams in the Western Conference, to be quite frank. So Portland and Seattle are probably the only two teams that I see above that line.
When it comes to what we saw in 2022, obviously I know a lot of folks looked at Austin and they were waiting for Austin to fall. We were waiting for Austin to fall. The same with LAFC. There were some things with LAFC where you sat there and you're like, okay, I'm seeing some chinks in the armor right now. There's some dents here that I can sit here and look at. There are some things I think I can exploit. But they came up big with the big stars when they needed to on the big stage. See Bale, Gareth. Dallas, once again, you've got all of those academy kids that they've built through the system coming up, and it's another year of getting just acquainted with life in Major League Soccer. LAG, Greg Vanney, I look at them and I'm thinking perpetual hot seat just because it is LA and it's the Galaxy, and the neighbors are noisy neighbors right now. They've won a title. And so what are you going to do to keep up with that? And then Minnesota, I don't know which team I'm going to get with Adrian Heath on a yearly basis. RSL is the same way. And Sporting, who was a shocker last year, finishing 12th, 2 wins on the road in 17 matches, 2-10-5 on the road last year. You got Houston, who's investing a boatload of money. They brought in Ache, and it didn't work. You had a coaching change, and you're trying another coach, and it's Ben Olsen, who we know from D.C. It is a year of subplots in the Western Conference, man.
It really is, man. And out of all those teams, even Sporting Kansas City, I just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see the change of players either coming from the academy system or going out there and bringing some guys. It just seems like they haven't done a really good job at bringing in quality players, whether it's DPs or not. They just really struggled. And I don't want to be the guy that says that it's time for a change in coaching and front office for Sporting Kansas City, but it's getting to that point. I think that a team like Colorado, that last year they did okay, they might be able to grab a little bit of noise. Maybe Houston, man, they can spend as much as they want. They just don't seem to have a team structure. And they have brought in Tab Ramos, and they've brought in guys that are big name coaches and guys that are just coming in that have some sort of foundation of how to build academies, and they just don't work out, man. I don't know what it is about Houston that just gives me no confidence. If you told me right now which of these teams is likely to play above how well they played last season, Houston might be at the bottom of that, and that's including San Jose, that I believe will have a little bit of improvements, or a lot of improvements, with Luchi Gonzalez there. So I just don't believe in Houston and the way they approach the game.
So, Jarrett, Niko said some really nice things about your Quakes there heading into 2023 in the way.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, God only knows what they're going to look like now that you have the psychopath out of running basically a chaotic system.
Yes.
I do want to see what it looks like this year. But we get first dibs on that because Atlanta opened the season with San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta and San Jose have never played a normal game. They've played 3 times. All 3 of them were drunk in special, unique ways. To what Niko was saying as I was jumping back on, I do completely agree about Houston. I do not trust them as far as I can throw them, which as an entire franchise, I cannot throw a franchise very far. So, yeah, I don't trust them either. And it's one of those things that's kind of like when people got mad last year about what about Atlanta struggles in the middle of the season about we change this, change that. I'm like, I get that desire. I understand that desire where you want to change things because you're getting antsy about it. I don't ever want to be a team, though, that turns into that team that is, we're going to splash all the money and we're going to change coaches every 10 months because it didn't work instantly. And now all of a sudden we're just throwing money around, but the identity feels like it doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, Niko, you've got owners that in this day and age, they want instant results. I think that that's kind of what we're seeing in Houston. When you bring in an owner that wants to splash cash and he wants to be this presence in the market, and you're not getting it, then I think that lends itself to an owner being impatient. And if the second time through it doesn't work, then you get more impatient and you want to throw more money at the problem and you want to try to figure out how to do it. And the only solution that pops into your head is to open the wallet that much more and dig that deep and risk digging a deeper hole for yourself. And I'm kind of where we're going because it was Tab Ramos. Then you have an ownership change. You bring in Paulo Nagamura. Then you invest in guys like Ache, and then Nagamura doesn't work. And then you've got your interim, and now you've got Ben Olsen. It's just, it's almost like being in the spin cycle in the washer dryer, man.
And Ben Olsen, I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. And that is the crazy part of having a team and not having a good cabinet or council or whatever you want to call it, man. You got to have a GM and you got to have guys that understand and know what it takes to be successful, man. And they just don't have it. I mean, and it's all about smokes and mirrors, Ache, when they were bringing him in and the press conference we had with the owner, he's a national team level guy, but is he? But was he? Well, I mean, was he really though? No, I mean, he just wasn't. He was a guy that was at the end, and you could start to see the decline. And you saw it in his game in La Liga with Atletico, and you saw it in El Tri. And, he's just a guy that needs to be moved on, and you're bringing him on as your savior and as a guy that you're going to be able to put a franchise on his shoulders, and that's just not him, man. So I think there needs to be a lot of changes, and there's a huge difference on how a team like Houston manages their budget and a team like Austin manages their money and a team like Nashville manages their money, because even when they get that swing and a miss that, I remember talking to Garth Lagerwey, the biggest thing that you have to do when you're a manager and you're a GM and you're a president of soccer is don't miss with your franchise players. He told me that's like your first round draft pick in an NFL draft. You just don't miss with those guys because that's the guys you build on. And he always did a fantastic job. And if you look across the league, those teams that don't miss often with those DPs are the ones that are most successful. And Houston just hasn't done it. They just haven't done it.
You know, Niko, he hits on one team in particular that I have made my whooping boy, which is Nashville. Look, Nashville came in, hit the ground running, made the conference finals. It hasn't taken the next step, and I don't know what they have to do to take that next step. Because, that's great. Nashville's a playoff team every year. They're gonna make the playoffs every year, probably. They're gonna take a playoff game, maybe two, every year. But right now, they don't ever feel like a team that's going to clear the final hurdle. And I don't know how they get over that final hurdle, because I don't know if it's you got to hit whatever you replace Akiloba with, obviously. But at some point, I think it's going to have to take more than that somewhere. Like you got to take a risk somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a very fair point, man. It really is. Is it to me the best way to enter a league in which you build a system that is going to give you a low ceiling but also a very high floor? Yeah, but at some point you got to lift that ceiling. You got to rebuild and say, hey, man, I need those 15-feet ceilings, man. I need to just fix it up. Let's bring Demo in here and just, yeah, absolutely. That Nashville is to the point where they've showed us that they're a consistent playoff team, that they have a very good fan base, amazing fan base, love them, the way they support, the way that they're always on social media, man. I love Nashville fans. So you have this whole brand and this very good soccer team with a good coach. Now you got to be able to go above that. So the Leals, the Mukhtars, you're going to have to give them more resources to amplify that potential into not just a playoff contender, but a title contender. I mean, that's the difference. And you do got to make some real changes, and you got to gamble a little bit and just, put your money where your mouth is. That's it.
And especially in that new house that you have with the nice sunken living room at Geodis Park, you had
the league MVP, and it never felt like, man, Nashville's a dark horse contender for the cup. It never really felt like that. It felt like Nashville could crack a couple skulls here, but damn.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they got to do, I think, man, I love this conversation because they're a team with so much potential, but that you could see where things are going wrong, where maybe their scouting system is bringing in guys that don't fit the system. And then the system is so good that just kind of keeps you going. So it's hard to just build it off, just crush it all, destroy it, and rebuild it because you think it's working, but is it really working? Because, you think about Piñeros, you think about, they had the Venezuelan striker. They brought in so many guys that seemed like they were going to be productive guys, and they never worked out. That I think there has to be something wrong with the way their scouting team works to their soccer idea and what they're trying to portray in the field. So they are a team that I think it's time to make some changes and start becoming a constant title contender and not just a playoff contender.
All right, easiest question on the board. It is time to wrap up Thursdays with Niko on a Friday. What is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day like in the Niko Moreno household?
New Year's is one of my favorite days of the year. I know people find it weird as, between Christmas and New Year's. I love both, but sometimes I go more with New Year's because to a guy like me, it just gives you a whole new, everything comes from scratch. Everything goes back to zero. So I do a little bit of traditional stuff with the grapes, and I put all my resolutions on a, piece of paper, and I'm always with my family. My best friend and his family is more of a friends type of atmosphere with us. I have the privilege to still have a lot of high school friends who we basically have the exact same family structure, a son and a daughter, and, the wife's our best friends. So we all get together at their place, have a little music, some good drinks, some good food, wait for the 31st. And then on the next day, always wake up early, start taking out the Christmas lights, getting ready for 2023. So probably not as exciting, depending on how hangover I am, and just how early I'll get up to just start doing those things. But that's the tradition here with the Moreno family.
At El Rolo NW, at The Soccer Bar, at Sports Pulso on the Twitters. It's great to catch up with you, my friend. We'll do New Year's resolutions and get ready for training camp next week. This time, rubber hits the road as we get ready for 2023. Thanks for hanging out with us for another go-around of Thursdays with Niko on a Friday.
Thank you, my guy. Appreciate you as always. Happy New Year. It's been a privilege to just be on with you, with your audience. One of my highlights of this year is being on with every single one of you, watching, listening, and, with the very best producer and analyst in the southern side of the country, my guy. So appreciate both of you guys. Have a really, really good day, and I'll be back next year.
Jarrett, send us home.
Mucha plata, yeah.
What he said. We'll see you next week.